Hey folks, I'm your host BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Now, before we move into our next segment, as we're in our final hour here this morning, we have there's been breaking news: multiple injuries reported in a shooting at St. Mary's County High School. This is in multiple people were injured. This comes from Washington, D.C. Channel 4. Multiple people were injured in a shooting at a high school at Southeast Maryland Tuesday morning at St. Mary's Sheriff's Office confirmed. The shooting happened Tuesday morning at Great Mills High School in Great Mills, Maryland. Multiple injuries have been reported. That's the update we have now. The school is on lockdown, and the school is about 60 miles from Washington, D.C. Now, here's the thing that's interesting to me, okay? Why this has to be the last paragraph. Now, this is the last paragraph. The shooting comes 4 days before the National March for Our Lives, a rally for student safety inspired by last month's massacre at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in South Florida. Why does that have to be part of this? We don't know any of the details. March for Our Lives. Oh, okay. The Deep State. Put the picture up there, the Deep State. I have a little picture. And there was a poll that came out, okay? And the poll is: the majority of Americans believe a faction of the unelected officials is orchestrating policy in Washington, D.C. According to a new poll, the Monmouth University Polling Institute found that 74% of respondents believe in a deep state. When it is described as a collection of unelected officials running policy, 21% said they do not believe this kind of group exists. The poll notes that more than 7 out of 10 Americans polled in each political group, okay, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, believe in the deep state. 31% of Republicans, okay, 33% of independents say they believe in a deep state definitely exists, while 19% of Democrats believe this. Pollsters also found that the majority of those polled, 63%, they were not familiar with the term deep state. However, 13% said they were very familiar, while 24% said they were somewhat familiar. The media is trying to lead you to believe, okay, that without a explanation of what the deep state is, this poll would not be as high as 7 out of 10, would not show 7 out of 10, that there needed to be an explanation. Now, we work here on a daily basis. We don't do it 5 days a week, but there's 3 days a week that you will hear deep state on this show. Do I believe there's an upper level of FBI, which is not elected? FBI, Department of Justice, State Department, upper levels within these departments. That do I believe there's upper levels that have orchestrated events to help maintain certain hierarchy in the White House? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, a state within a state. Deep state, okay? Deep state. A state within a state or deep state is a political situation in a country when an internal organ, FBI, Department of Justice, IRS, Department of Education, deep state, such as armed forces, public authorities, intelligence agencies, police, secret police, administrative agencies, the branches of government bureaucracy, I just named them, Department of Education, the military, the Department of Education, all the above, okay? IRS, FBI, CIA, you keep going on and on and on. Does not respond to the civilian political leadership, although the state within a state can be conspiratorial in nature. The deep state can also take the form of the entrenched, unelected, career civil servants acting in a non-conspiratorial manner, okay, in further their own interest, all right? The deep state, when asked if you know the definition, may be one thing, but it's real. The deep state is real. 7 out of 10 Americans, when you explain to them what it is, they say, yes, I believe there's a such thing. I'm going to tell you something. 70% of Americans, that's pretty big. You know, it's funny to me that the liberals will use 70% of any poll and say it's time to do something in America when 70% favors them. Eric Holder came out on the firing of, and I just want to explain something because the media will not. Eric Holder, you have his picture, came out concerning the firing of McCabe, Andrew McCabe. Said you have to push back on the president. Damn it, every once in a while you have to push back. There's Andy McCabe. You have to push back every once in a while. Eric Holder, former Attorney General, on the President of the United States. Let's not forget, I want to explain something that the media continues to say. Trump told Sessions to do this, Trump told Sessions to do that. I'm asking all of the media to take a little time and realize, established in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, okay? Okay, let me explain something. You got a picture of Jeff Sessions and Donald Trump? Okay. If you'll take a minute, media, and look, established in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution. Let's see here. The cabinet role is to advise the president on any subject he may require related to the duties of each member's respective office. It's the executive branch, folks. Donald Trump has every right, okay? President Donald J. Trump's cabinet includes Vice President Mike Pence and heads of 15 executive departments, Secretary of Agriculture, okay, Environmental Protection Agency, Administration of Small Business, Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And the only reason I'm going through this, okay, National Director of Intelligence, Director of Central Intelligence, CIA, Director of Office and Management and Budget, Representative of the United States to the United Nations, Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Education. The list goes on. Secretary of State, Transportation, Treasury, Veterans Affairs. It continues. The list goes on. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly. It's called the executive branch. It is, he has every right to talk to Jeff Sessions at any time he wants, okay? Anytime he wants. I just wish that people would take just a minute to look at Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution. The cabinet's role is to advise the president on any subject he may require related to the duties of each member's office. Trump can call Sessions up right now and he says, hey, as far as this is concerned, where do we legally stand on this? As far as this is concerned, where do we leave? And Sessions has to answer the question. That's his job according to the Constitution. But no, Eric Holder, let me remind you, before I bring Amanda in this morning, Let me remind you, on June 20th, 2012, the Oversight Committee voted 23-17 along party lines to hold Holder in contempt of Congress for not releasing documents the committee had requested fast and furious. On June 28, 2012, Holder became the first U.S. Attorney General in history to be held in both criminal and civil contempt. Period. Okay? Wonder if the President of the United States was telling him, don't hand over anything. Stand your ground. Just be under contempt. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Because remember, Holder jumped up, former Attorney General Eric Holder jumped up and said to Jeff Sessions, damn, you have to push back on the president every once in a while. You just have to go against the president every once in a while. Obviously, this was not one of the times for you, and this guy is not putting out a possible 2020 presidential run. So Eric Holder, you should have pushed back on the president when he told you to cover up. All of you to cover up the deep state. Amanda, hi, how are you? I'm sorry, I cannot see Eric Holder without getting I'm sorry, and him having the nerve to tell Jeff Sessions he needs to push back on the President of the United States. What say you this morning? Wait, no, whoa, what happened? Well, that's the gun's fault. I mean, the dad should have never had a gun where the kid could go get it, and no, I know.
10-year-old sister. So
well, let me say this, okay? Let me say this. So he's 9 years old. He wanted the controller on the Xbox. She wouldn't give him the controller, so he goes and gets a gun and kills her, right?
Yes.
All right.
So, like I said, whenever I went and I saw this story, I went home and immediately, because, my two oldest, they're 9 and 5. So they've got that same age gap there.
Yeah.
I went straight, ripped it out of his room and put it in the living room, and he's just looking at me like, what? And, and I sat them down yesterday and explained to them, there's something wrong. There's something bad wrong with their generation right now. It's sinister, and it all this media, all of these games, it's just toxic, And I'm not trying to be that parent and anything, but it's that's where the changes need to start. Not this gun control. This has just gotten out of hand. Our kids have gotten out of hand. I don't even know what the answer is anymore. And, people, I've noticed already with this Maryland shooting that people are saying gun control now. Again, this is not guns. This is your parenting.
Okay. I mean, who told you to stop? Keep on. Go on with your bad self.
And that's really all I have to say. All
right, well, stick around there, man. Stick around.
Get a control on yourself and parent your kids. Your kids are going up in school and bringing guns and shooting people. That's the gun's fault?
Okay. All right. Just a minute. Now, so I go over to the funeral home Sunday to attend the funeral of a dear friend, okay? And I'm not going to say anything. I'm not saying anything ugly here, and I want this not to misunderstand, but I go in the little kitchen area that they have for the family, and I get a cup of coffee, and I sit down, and across the room, there's these 4 kids, okay? And it wasn't like they were doing anything bad, but there's these 4 kids, and every one of these kids, now the oldest looked to be about 10. So I'm going to go from 7 to 10 and 4 kids, okay? And this little boy is about 10 years old. All of them have a pad. They're sitting at this table with some sort of pad. And the one I could see, I'm sitting there, and the one I could see, all right, is playing a game with his finger, okay? And there's this guy running, and he's dodging all of these barriers and these things coming at him.
Yeah.
But he's actually shooting something. All right? He is shooting a gun.
Yeah.
And the graphics on this, and it's set up, and it looks just like something kids would want. I mean, definitely for kids. Nobody is paying attention. The next thing I know, all right, he gets to this level, because I'm watching, he's 10 years, he gets to this level. The next thing I know, this guy is running through the woods, and he has this axe-like thing in his back. The next level. And he's pulling it out, and he's swinging it, and when he hits things, like splashes of blood. I mean, what is it supposed to be when it's red and it like explodes?
These games, like, you know, like we talked about with Rick, Jane, and Bruce a couple weeks ago, these games are cartoonized, and they're cute. They're cute cartoons. But when, you know, they hit or shoot or punch, it's graphic blood just splashes.
It splashes
and it's rated for kids.
Yes.
And I just don't understand. And, you know, even yesterday too, because they usually get, you know, we've actually went down a lot in limited time on the games, because I didn't really have this issue up until lately, you know, and my son has gotten a little bit older, so he is more interested in stuff like that. But I had to put a strict limit, you know, 30 minutes a day on these games or on, you know, YouTube or anything. And I even monitor the YouTube. I have it turned on parental settings, even on my TV, where they can't, on their own profile, they can't see, you know, over a certain age limit of content, which I think it's over 12. And I noticed on one of these YouTube channels yesterday that there is a kid channel with these like shooting and blood, and I had to break it down once again. If I catch you guys watching anything like that, YouTube is gone forever. Like, that's it. That's it. The whole Xbox, everything. And they're just looking at me like, well, it's on a kid channel. And I'm like, I know, this is crazy. I like, how many times do I have to go over this every day? You know, it's constantly something. Constantly.
Well, we have our March for Our Lives coming up. We have the omnibus spending bill being created now as we speak. We're supposed to be running out of money. And we have Uber cars running people over. We've got a lot to talk about and only a little over 20 minutes left. We're going to take a brief break, and as soon as we come back, we're going to go over. Thank you very much, Amanda. I agree with you 100%. We appreciate hearing from your side of, you know, they're good guys. I know you got great kids, but still yet the struggles and the admission of what I'm going to say is, you used to say, hey, I don't know what's wrong out there, but we got a serious problem.
We do.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back, folks, to wrap up our day.